Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Central Intelligence. I'm Rosie Killingsworth.
And I'm Cicely O'Quinn. This week we cut hair with a TikTok star. We also dive deep into the stories of Old Springfield.
Stay tuned for these stories and more because this is CI.
TikTok has been connecting millions of people since 2016.
Reese Smith, Alex True, Cicely O'Quinn, and Camilla Liu visit influencer Connor Cutts, who is striving to make lasting relationships from his online following.
What inspired me to start cutting hair really wasn't anything in particular. I dropped out of college because I wasn't liking that whole route, and I needed something to make money. So I was working 3 jobs. I was working at a place called Pier 28, a place called Beyond the Lens, and then I was also just doing odd-end jobs. And I just wasn't really liking it. That's not the vision that I saw my life going towards. So I started looking up ways to make money online, and I tried drop shipping, tried stocks, all that stupid stuff that 18-year-olds do. And I ultimately decided on cutting hair because I saw people on YouTube doing it. I was like, oh, I could do that. I thought it would be super easy. Definitely wasn't, but it was a process that kind of took route the more and more I did it. I've been cutting hair for roughly 2 years. I started cutting hair in my mom's garage. I graduated barber school last April of 24. So I've been professionally licensed for a little over a year now. Cutting hair definitely does mean something. I would say that I like the helping aspect of it, knowing that I could make someone's day, but it's not a true passion necessarily. I've always liked content creating, and that was more my main passion, but cutting hair is just some way that I can kind of get to the next level, if that makes sense. TikTok's brought me probably around 1,000 clients, I would say, because before I started TikTok, I really didn't have too much clientele, but I started over here with probably 4 clients. Like, it was all my buddies, a few guys that I cut at Hudson Hawk, but I really didn't have any clientele. So pretty much every single person that I cut now is from TikTok. I started on social media because like I said, I moved over here with no clientele, so I needed to find some way to kind of gain clientele to make money. And I just saw other barbers posting on TikTok, creating content, posting on YouTube. So I just thought that was a route that I could go down to gain clientele, and I never thought it would turn into what it is now. I'm fully booked most days, doing about 10 haircuts a day for the last year. The hardest part about being an influencer, I would say probably the public recognition sometimes. Everyone always is like, oh, that's so cool, you get noticed in public, which it is cool, but at the same time, it's very, like, I'll be out on a date with my girlfriend and we'll have people come to the table and be like, hey, you're the guy from TikTok, or we'll be in the mall and it's just a whole bunch of little kids coming up to me, you're the guy from TikTok. But it's cool and all, I love it, but it's also very, like, I'm a very private person. I'd say it's more mental than anything. You just kind of have to have the mindset, like, I'm gonna post this day, I'm gonna sit down and edit, because it really is a difficult task to do both of them. When you're cutting from 9 in the morning to 6 at night, you don't want to go home and edit a video. You want to hang out with your family and make dinner and all that. But it's just something that you kind of have to be intentional with, I would say. Sitting down and editing after a long day at the shop is definitely mentally draining. I love editing videos, but at the same time I hate it because I'm getting off work, I don't want to do it. But there's kind of a piece within editing your own videos just because it's your own creation that you kind of get to see and make it your own. If I could change anything, I probably would make myself more available, just being able to be in the shop more. But like I said, it's hard to be able to want to be in the shop after working 6 days a week. But I would just say, make myself more available. I would love to be able to do that. I would love to be able to sit down and edit videos more too.
Founded in the early 1800s, Springfield is full of old stories.
Adelaide Trumbull, Alyssa Shamblin, Emily Neal, and Alina Neal take us back in time to a murder on Halloween night.
The story I wanted to talk to you about is the story of Calvin Finkel, who was a student here who was shot and killed on Halloween night. There had been concerns that Central students were coming over on Halloween night and pulling pranks on campus. The administration of Drury College decided that it would hire 2 off-duty policemen to prevent depredations on campus. These 2 policemen were specifically told that they were not to be armed. For whatever reason, one of the policemen, whose name was Finn, he stopped by a house and picked up a gun. These 2 policemen come to campus and they just spend the night walking around the campus. They see these 2 young men walking along there. And this is probably 1 or 2 in the morning. They call out to these 2 figures, and these 2 figures start coming towards them. And it is Calvin Finkel and Fred Rowe. And again, pretty likely that they've been running around campus pulling these pranks. And the accounts say that they start coming closer, and it's believed that Rowe and Finkel thought that these were other students initially, and they start coming towards them, and then they see that they're adults. And so they see they're adults, and they turn and start walking away. And at this point, one of the policemen steps forward and says, "Boys, come here, I want to talk to you." Fred Rowe takes off running, and Calvin Finkel tries to run too, but is sort of held up by whatever problem he has with his leg. And at this point, Finn, this policeman, shouts at them to stop. They don't stop. And Finn, for whatever reason, pulls his pistol out of his pocket and shoots. And he hits Calvin Finkel. And he doesn't wound him badly. He hits him in the side, just barely grazes his side. He grabs the wound and turns and starts walking back towards Fairbank Hall to this group of these 2 policemen and the faculty holding his side. And when he gets close enough, and Finn is sitting there holding a smoking gun, and Finkel turns to him and says, "You shot me." And Finn, inexplicably, holding the smoking gun, says, "No, I didn't." And Finkel looks at him and says, "Yes, you did. A grown man like you shooting a boy like me. You ought to be ashamed of yourself." And he falls down. And he dies the next day. You know, I think everybody's got a good story to tell. My name is William Garvin, and this is what I do.
Walnut Street Inn stands as a reflection of the people who have enjoyed it since it was built in 1865.
Sienna Wilson, Alyssa Keller, Beck Bauer, and Victoria Lee introduce us to life and lore of this downtown institution.
I am the manager of the property. In 1894 is when construction started. Charles McCann and his family, his wife Catherine, they built this place from the ground up. And there's just a lot of rich history about the time that they had the property. And it was a great Victorian home in the heyday of Springfield coming up. And then it passed hands several different families, even to the Jewell family, and then segued into the 80s where it became an established bed and breakfast. Nancy Dornan and their family started it as a bed and breakfast, totally renovated the property, and it is gone from them to the Blankenship family, who were here for quite some time and continued to run it and keep it up and decorate it in their own fashion, and on to my family, the Fawcett's, who have taken it over in the last almost 5 years now. And we've done the same, just kind of updated it, maintained it, and put our own little spin on things and continue to operate it. Because it was like the tail end of COVID when all of that stuff was going on. But I happen to know Kat Blankenship, the daughter of the previous owners. And then when this property came up, we were doing okay despite everything that was going on. And we're just like, you know what? Heck, let's try to run a bed and breakfast too. That sounds like fun. So we just threw our hat in the ring and here we are. Yes, it's true that there are many stories about the haunting of the Walnut Street Inn. You know, old houses have characteristics, funny noises, little weird things happening here and there. And most of the time I can find the source and be like, oh, this pipe needs to be repaired. Oh my gosh. Sometimes it's not so easy to say, oh, that's the cause of why we heard a woman's voice whispering to us when we touched this old sterling silver cake knife in the pantry. You know, but it is so rewarding for this. Like, you can't do it unless you're invested for the good things. I didn't think I'd be one of those people that's like, oh my goodness, historical preservation matters so much. But coming into this role and learning about this property, I think my greatest fear would be if this property ever moved on to another owner and it was leveled and turned into a parking garage or something. Oh my gosh. I think I would perish on the spot if that were to happen, because it's almost like a living entity. And our legacy that we wanted to contribute is just to restore it. It's a historical landmark. It means something to the town of Springfield. We try to not erase that, but preserve that. I'm just so happy to have a family business. We love each other and we're building something together. And that's really rewarding, and I'm very proud of that.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of Central Intelligence.
Be sure to check out our other documentaries on YouTube. Also, follow us on Instagram at CHS_CI.
We'll see you again soon.